watching Gearz, brought to you by LNC Truck. Keep them on the road.
You know, one of the great things about doing a show like Gearz is that we get to meet all kinds of gearheads and we get to go to some really cool places. And nothing is cooler than a military base, like this one in Fort Carson, Colorado. Fort Carson is nestled in the hills around Colorado Springs, Colorado. And the only thing better than the location is all of the military personnel that are stationed there and all the cool equipment they get to mess around with. The reason we were on the base was to support the Auto Skills World Conference and all of the instructors and personnel that put together the facilities and equipment on military bases so active soldiers have a place to work on their personal projects and learn mechanical skills when they're off duty. Having a place to unwind and turn some wrenches can be extremely therapeutic for active soldiers. So much so that these facilities are a growing part of military bases all over the country. And it was great to see some of the cool project vehicles on display. But the conference wasn't the only thing going on. It was also the 100th anniversary of the 4th Infantry Division. So there was some top-level brass hanging around, as well as some specialty vehicles that were brought in for the soldiers to check out.
Go.
But my favorite was the military vehicles.
This is Simon.
Especially the World War II half-track
Well, that clutch comes out a long ways.
that I managed to sneak out the door for a quick spin around the base.
Okay,
That's good.
now just forward.
Go forward, yeah.
And just where to? Out in the parking lot?
Whatever you want. Go around the shop once.
And that clutch comes way out. Jonathan, hold on.
I'm on it.
I gotta have one of these, man. This is awesome. Smoking like crazy. Listen, I had no idea that these things had a chop top, man. Look at this. Those windows are only that high. How cool is this? And this thing is awesome. Drives like a tank. I've always wanted to say that and actually mean it. It drives like a dang tank, but it is cool. Hey, is this street legal?
It is, but you want to run around the road once?
There's no brakes, man.
Okay. But I mean, you can go around the entire shop and bring it back if you want to do that.
Make sure to swing wide.
Yeah.
And definitely not the most nimble thing to drive. But you don't have to worry about road rage either, because people will always yield the right-of-way to a half-track.
Restoring a vehicle. Done right, it can be one of the most rewarding things you can ever undertake. Done wrong, it can turn your life upside down. Shake the money out of your pockets and squeeze the sanity from your brain. Stacey David's Restoration Series is here to help you do it right, so you can keep your money and your sanity and enjoy the fruits of your labor. So grab a wrench and let's get cranking. Stacey David's Restoration Series, now streaming exclusively on Amazon Prime. all across America. In thousands of garages, carports, and backyards, there sits a project that has become hindered, stalled, or halted by the lack of time, money, or expertise by the owner. Sometimes the project is so lopsided that the owner just needs to sell it and start over. Other times, all it needs is a kickstart to get it moving in the right direction again. That's where we come in. Gearz on the Road is brought to you by LMC Truck. Keep 'em on the road.
Welcome back to Gearz and our trip to Fort Carson, Colorado, where we were checking out vehicles, meeting soldiers, and even swapping licks with a few of the guys after hours. While we were there, we had the opportunity to meet a young soldier and gearhead named Brett Gildersleeve. When he wasn't on duty, he was wrenching on an old square-bodied Chevy truck that had seen years of rough farm use. So tell me about what got you into square bodies.
Square bodies started out for me. My grandpa had a Suburban used as a hunting rig.
Yeah.
And I just remember how it was so roomy and stuff, and we used to take that hunting. So that was kind of the first time I ever rode in a square body. And then my uncle had 2 camo trucks, and me and my cousin, after we go shingling on a day, we take that camo truck when the exhaust is all rotten and falling off, and we take and go rev the pipes up for the girls down by the beach in that camo truck.
The old Chevy was in fairly decent shape, and Brett was slowly going through the truck and returning it back to its former glory as time and money allowed. So how long have you been working on it?
I started the motor last summer, rebuilt it here in the Fort Carson Autocraft Center, and I put just a small Edelbrock flat tappet cam in it, did intake, redid the carb, got some 781 oval port heads, had it milled down, and then this January I took the whole cab off, completely sanded the frame down.
With the engine and drivetrain squared away and work progressing nicely on the mechanicals, the next part that really needed attention was the body, especially the bed, because it had the typical rust and damage that you would expect on an old ranch truck. The bottom of the door is solid. I don't feel any rust under there. They're usually gone.
The reason why I was changing is because someone put these doors from a 73 to 76 on the 80 cab, and they don't go all the way down. They got that little metal strip. So that's why I was putting this one in here.
Unfortunately, an active soldier doesn't have a lot of extra time or money, but we figured we could help him out with some of that. So a quick run through the LMC truck catalog brought up the right part numbers, and pretty soon we found ourselves loading up a couple of new bedsides and the matching head panel and tailgate, so Brett will have a nice bed to toss his junk in. This will not only make the truck usable again, but it's also a great way to help somebody deal with the stress and the harsh realities that a military life can bring. We can't wait to see the truck when it gets it done.
Thank you. Can I get one last thing from you?
Yeah, what do you got?
Would you sign the visor in there? This paint
yeah.
marker?
The driver's?
Oh, yeah. If you can get in there, you might have to hop up.
These things. It's right here?
Awesome.
Very cool.
Yeah, I probably wouldn't be nowhere close to where I'm at if it weren't for Tom and Autocraft Center, so good thing that program was out.
If you've got a cool project and would like to show millions of other gearheads what you're working on, you need to join Gearz Nation. This is a free, interactive online community of auto enthusiasts that will allow you to learn from, share with, and encourage others, and at the same time, show off your project. There are also premium memberships available for access to special merchandise and the entire Gearz catalog. If you're into mechanical things, you're welcome on Gearz Nation. And who knows, you might even see your project on TV.
Welcome back to Gearz. You know, a few weeks ago, we took a reproduction 48 to 52 Ford bed and cut it down to fit our vintage Snowcat. All right, with the bed taken care of, we come to the most important part of a Snowcat, the tracks. I don't know if you remember when we rolled this in, but the tracks were shot. And you don't just find replacement tracks at your local tire store. Fortunately, we found a company in Canada called Right Track Systems that specialize in tracks and track conversions. Check this out. When Right Track Systems started making tracks 20 years ago, they did it for two reasons. One was to offer a tougher, stronger track than what was currently available, and the second was to offer track conversions for vehicles that were currently running tires.
2 decades ago, my father got involved in some of the new quad tracks that were coming out for ATVs and all-terrain vehicles. It just felt like the product wasn't quite good enough for the customer, and it wasn't as good as it could have been. So what he did was he developed his own product for those ATVs and quads. He came up with something that was a rebuildable product that the customer could easily install from one unit to another without having to replace the entire undercarriage and being able to use the existing tire. So what ended up happening is my father ended up extending that design to a lot of different other types of equipment.
Now, there are several types of track systems. There's the metal tracks like you'll see on a tank or a bulldozer. Then there's the full rubber track, and then finally the type with rubber belts and separate Grousers. And this is the type of track that Right Track Systems specializes in. Now, obviously, there's a lot more science to these kind of tracks than just wrapping some belting around a tire. There's three main elements to this style of track. The first thing we're going to look at is the belting.
What we actually do is we're an environmentally friendly green company. We reuse belting that has been in large mines. All the belting is between 1,000 and 1,200 pound belting on all of our Snowcats, and anywhere between 12 and 1,500 pounds on our truck tracks and heavier equipment. And that belting is usually about 3 to 4 times the strength of your standard tire. So it really helps prevent any kind of tire wear or damage or puncturing when a customer is using our tracks in the field.
This means the belt is extremely tough for off-road conditions. So you can use the tracks in mud, rocks, sand, deadfall, whatever, without worrying about tearing or puncturing a belt.
To this point, we found no weight limit of where our product can go. We have units out there that weigh up to 150 or 200,000 pounds with our track.
The second part of the track is the wheel guides, and Right Track will either restore your original guides or make new ones to fit the bogie wheels you're running. And they make sure that they're spaced properly on the belt to fit your drive sprocket. The third part is the Grousers, and these bolt to the wheel guide and the track and not only hold it all together, but also provide the traction to dig into the terrain and move you forward. And this is where most of the wear and tear is going to happen on a track. And as you can see, they have a heavy-duty U-channel design with a second channel inside to give us double the strength and durability.
Well, we have a pretty standard design for our Snowcat tracks, and it is a steel J-bar, or what we call our U-channel design, with a piece of square tubing on the inside for structural support. It's much stronger than what a lot of the OEM manufacturers offer their customers for their tracks.
There's also options. If you're going to be in a lot of ice or snow, they can weld ice picks to the bars for extra traction. If you're going to be on pavement or sensitive areas, they can build the Grousers out of polyurethane. The best part is, All of the Grousers are replaceable, so you can rebuild the tracks once the Grousers have worn down, and you don't have to buy all new tracks. Now at this point you're probably wondering, so what kind of vehicles can you actually put tracks on? It's a good question. Take a look.
Probably our most popular applications are going to be for semi-trucks, tandem, triple, and single axle semi-trucks and trailers. We also build a lot of Snowcat tracks, skid steer tracks, agricultural equipment, and then just basically custom ATVs and utility equipment.
Now, as you can see, you don't have to have a Snowcat to have a tracked vehicle, but you better have the right track system if you're going to put them on what you do have.
When Stacey David makes house calls in the big Gearz Nation truck, it makes for some pretty special moments. But if they can't come to your garage, the next best thing to do is check out the stuff they have online to help you out. Things like DVDs, wiring and build books, apparel and fender covers are just some of the things you'll find to help you with your project or make a great gift for that certain car nut in your life. If you're ready to get out there, build something, and then go smoke the tires on it, StaceyDavid.com can help you do that. Now, quick tip, brought to you by E3 Spark Plugs, born to burn.
There comes a time in every car owner's life where you're going to have to get rid of an old sticker or trim or stripe or something off of a car body or windows. And the problem is, neither one of these want to come off without a fight. Now obviously, a razor blade works well for getting things off of glass. But to get things off of a body without destroying the paint, that's a little more difficult because that adhesive gets hard and it's just not going to come off of there. So a nice trick is to take some penetrating lube, the brand really doesn't matter, and spray it on the offending area. What the lube will do is soften that adhesive, and after a few minutes you'll be able to take your scraper and scrape it right off of there and not damage the paint. This is also a good way to get rid of old gasket material.
And now, Seal Tech, brought to you by Steel Rubber Products, helping restore the car of your dreams.
You know, when you get a new project vehicle and you start laying it out and planning what you're going to do to it, it's easy to plan the big stuff because that's what we're passionate about. Things like engines and paint jobs and interiors and wheels and tires. I mean, that's exciting stuff, whether you need it or not. But on the flip side of that is the stuff that pretty much every project is going to need. It's not so exciting. Things like wiring and plumbing and weather stripping. Yeah, not near as exciting, but extremely important. So today we're going to jump into weather stripping a little bit. Now, some people may think that weather stripping is just some rubber strips that aren't really that important. And if you ride a motorcycle or drive a dune buggy every day, well, that's probably the case. But if you drive a car or truck every day in all kinds of weather, well, having good weather stripping is really important, not only to you, but for the longevity of your vehicle. Take a look. This truck had leaky weather stripping around the windshield and the cowl. The result? A rusty rocker panel that now needs to be replaced. Bad weather stripping around the door could result in rusty patches around the seams. And these could be expensive and time-consuming to repair. Leaky seals around fuel tanks and trunks can allow gas fumes or carbon monoxide to get inside the car and ride along with you. And you know that's not good, especially if you smoke. And if you want to be able to keep the rain on the outside of the car or hear your stereo when you're driving, good door and window sills are a must. The good news is weather stripping is easy to diagnose and fix. On newer vehicles, if it's cracked or leaking or brittle or hard, replace it. If you're working on something that's over 10 years old, replace it. Don't think about it, just replace it, because believe me, it needs it. And it's a lot easier to replace weather stripping now than to fix rusty floors or panels later on.
What are you working on? Brought to you by Woodward Fabrication, selling quality metalworking equipment since 1966.
You're going to love today's What Are You Working On, because it comes from a guy that really knows how to have fun with cars. Now, his name is Mikey Brown. He's from Deputy, Indiana. And his project, he said, was a dream that he had in high school. And he always wanted a nostalgic front-end dragster. So he bought a replica chassis from Cornfield Customs, and then he started collecting parts. And after a few years, he started building it. Now, take a look at this. The engine is a bone stock 57 Chevy 235 6-cylinder out of his first car that he saved with this project in mind. It's also running a Shorty Power Glide tranny and a Ford 9-inch with 411 gears. And he said a buddy helped him fab up a lot of the brackets and sheet metal for it, and they had a blast building this thing from start to finish. Now, he said the first time he ran it was at the Meltdown Drags in Byron, Illinois, and he said he didn't win any races, but he didn't care, man, because he was having a blast with this thing, and he ended up winning the Nonconformist Award because, as he says, nobody expected a big bearded dude that's an upholsterer to come crawling out of a pink and white Barbie dragster, man. Check this picture out. This thing is great. Now, he said he's having so much fun with this thing, he's already piling up more parts to put on his dragster. And he calls this thing the Seam Ripper because, obviously, he's an upholsterer. This guy's a hoot. So, to recognize such a cool project, Mikey, we're going to give you one of these big bench vices from Woodward Fab to help you out in the shop. Then we're also going to give you one of our project planning books so you can keep track of everything that you've done to that car and everything you're going to do to that car. Then we're going to give you one of our children's books, The Purple Bicycle, because I wrote this about how to be a person just like you. And then we're going to give you one of our new jackets because it gets a little cold in Illinois. And then finally, we're going to give you a gift card from LMC Truck that'll help you out on your next project. All right, that wraps it up for us today, which means it is now time for you to get outside, wrap your hands around a wrench, and start working on something. We'll see you next time.